Hello everybody, welcome back to Art Appreciation. So if you haven't read the directions, and I'm going to say this in every video, you only have to watch 3 of these. You don't have to watch all of them. Any extras that you watch, any additional videos that you watch. So if you watch all of them or if you only watch 4 of them, you get 5 bonus points for each additional video. So if you need some extra points, if you didn't make the grade you wanted to on something, go ahead and get you some 5 bonus points while you can. As always, if you have questions about anything, send me an email. You should still do your readings for all of the chapters. Even if you don't deep dive and really read hard and take notes on what you read, at least skim over everything, because you're going to need that information for the other, for your assignments, your other assignments for this module. So this video is going to be about drawing. The desire to draw is as natural as our desire to talk. Everyone has the desire to draw in the beginning. Some continue to draw, others do not, but we all have drawn something before. We naturally use drawing as a form of communication, either to express feelings or document and share ideas. There are 2 types of drawing. We have receptive drawing and projective drawing. So this example is Mary Cassatt's in the omnibus, and it's an example of receptive drawing. So Cassatt often drew things that she saw or scenes in ordinary life. She took inspiration from the things around her. So this drawing may have been created while she was sitting on the train watching this event unfold. Many artists carry sketchbooks to draw as they see something interesting. Even if they don't create anything from their sketches immediately, they'll have a record for later inspirations. So she saw this event happening. She sketched it as it was happening. So receptive drawing. We see something, we draw it. Then we have projective drawing. So this is Guillermo del Toro's. This is images from his sketchbook for Pan's Labyrinth. So these sketchbook pages are examples of projective drawing. These are things coming from the mind. These are ideas that you have in your head that you then put on paper. So it can look like real things. This is not the same as abstract or non-representational art. This is things that you imagine. So it can look like a person. It can be a person, but it's not necessarily a person that you are seeing in front of you or have seen in front of you. So imaginary things that come from the artist's mind is projective drawing. Things that we see and then we draw it is receptive drawing. Drawing can be a work of art on its own or just the beginning stages of another work of art. So the sketchbook pages that we just looked at by Guillermo del Toro are an example of drawings being used for a larger work of art. So we sketch ideas, then those ideas come into a larger thing, a movie in that example. So this is Edgar Degas. This is Dancer Adjusting Her Slipper. And it's a drawing, and it's a preparatory sketch. So we have a sketch made of a dancer tying her shoe. Degas is known for his paintings of ballerinas, so he has a ton of sketches of ballerinas. This was likely a receptive drawing, so he saw a dancer doing this, drew a quick sketch while it was happening. He later then included a similar figure in one of his paintings. So this is Dancers on the Stage. So this is a completed painting. So this is ultimately the end result, the end work of art. So this is a prep that would have been used for inspiration for the end work. Drawing doesn't always have to be preparatory sketches though. So this is an example of a drawing as a work of art. So this is John O'Dry art. This is his pupil. It was made in 2017, and it's graphite on paper. So John O'Dry art does these very hyper-realistic They look like a photograph drawings, but they're not. They're actually drawn with pencil on paper. So this is him drawing actively on the left side. So very, 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 very detailed. But this is drawing for an end result. There are several different tools and techniques used in drawing. So we've looked at several examples of drawings that have used shading. It's where color sort of blocked in and blended to create light and shadow. We have other examples of this. So all of these are shading, but these are different forms of shading. So we have hatching, which is diagonal lines. The closer together they are, the darker. The further apart they are, the lighter. We have cross hatching, which is going to be X's. And again, the more X's there are, the darker. The less X's there are, the lighter. Circulism is really just circular scribbles. Same thing. Closer they are, darker. Further apart, the lighter. Contouring is when you create curved lines. This kind of goes hand in hand with hatching. So they're curved to show like a rounded shape. We have scribbles, stippling, which is little dots, short dashes, blending, threes, zigzags. There's all different kinds. Ultimately, the closer the mark is, the darker. The further apart the marks are from each other, the lighter they will be. So this is a drawing by Michelangelo Buonarroti. This is Studies for the Libyan Sibyl. We can see hatching and blending in this. So we have those diagonal vertical lines. We have a little bit of contour happening here. Then we also have things blended together to create these shadows. This is another example of a sketch that's used as inspiration for another work of art. This drawing is not a finished work of art. It's really just studies of the figure so that they can be put together for the finished product, the finished painting. This painting uses dry media, which means that the media is not wet. So this is chalk. It would have likely required some sort of fixative to keep it on the paper. Chalk is dry. So I'm assuming that you've all come in contact with chalk at some point in some form. It's very dry. It's a powder that's sort of compressed, usually into a stick for drawing. So when you put it on paper, it sort of dusts a little bit. Usually this doesn't soak into the paper. You usually have to have something else on top of it to keep it stuck to the paper. Today we have spray fixatives. I'm not really sure what type of fixative was used here. It might have been some sort of wax mixed in with the chalk as a binder. But the chalk, dry media usually has to have some sort of fixative to adhere it to the paper. And it usually sits on the surface of the paper. It doesn't soak in. Then we have, this is Xin Zhu's Poet on a Mountaintop. It comes from the Ming Dynasty in China. So this is ink on paper. So this is wet media. So wet media is, as the title suggests, wet. It usually soaks into the paper. Sometimes it's applied with a brush or other utensil. It can be a pen. It can be a marker. It can be a quill. We have different forms of wet media. Usually it's ink. So in the Western world, we would consider this a drawing because of its use of hatching and the method in which it was put on. Again, it's ink. We typically think ink, we think of drawing. However, in China, this is considered a painting. So I want to make that clear for art historical purposes. In China, this is a painting. It is not a drawing. For our purposes today, we're in the Western world. We're going to talk about it like it's a drawing. But to respect culture and this drawing or this painting's own history, in China, it is a painting. So, China did not use oil paint, tempera paint, or fresco like the West. They used ink and watercolor to create intimate and meaningful scenes. So, Chinese artists were very concerned with technique and line work. This also is reflected in their calligraphy, and all of this was done with a brush. Their calligraphy was done with a brush. This painting was done with a brush, usually from bamboo, sometimes hair, but they're known for typically landscapes. Here we have Qin Shu. This is her landscape. It was done 1660 to 1736. It's Qing Dynasty. Excuse me. Qin Shu was a female artist, which is very uncommon in Chinese art. It would have been difficult for many women to have been trained in painting, but some were allowed to train and paint by their fathers or husbands. So this landscape is actually a projective work of art. Women were not allowed to travel in China. They weren't allowed to leave their homes. So it's unlikely she would have been able to see a landscape. This is most likely inspired by another work of art that she saw by a male artist who did go to travel to see landscapes. In the modern day, technology allows us to draw digitally. So many digital artists, such as Aaron Griffin here, try to create works of art that resemble material works of art. So it's meant to look like a painting or meant to look like a drawing, but it's done digitally. So we have digitized versions of brush strokes, but it's all done on a screen. And then we have some forms of art, some forms of drawing that are embracing the digital realm. So they have sort of glowing effects. We see it with chiaroscuro in the Renaissance, that when it's on a screen and it has that glow behind it, it's even more purposeful. Many of the digital drawing works of art are meant to exist on a screen. They're not meant to be printed off and used on paper. And then even then, today we have AI. I don't have an image example for AI, but AI creates art digitally as well. The difference is you're not doing the act of drawing. You're not doing the act of creating when you make AI art. You're giving something a prompt, yes, but you're not actually in the act, in the creative process with AI. So none of these used AI. All of these were actually drawn by a person. So that's it for our drawing one. Don't forget to go back and watch 2 more if you haven't already. As always, if you have any questions, just send me an email.